Good day, YouTube. Here with you at the bench once again. We are looking at the Zenith AM/FM radio. It has the 7F04 chassis in it. I'm not really sure of the exact model number. I think it's, well, I'll flash it up, the one I think it is on the screen. But like I said, I'm not totally sure. There's some discrepancies on these radios. They were produced over a number of years, from around 1949 to at least 55. And there's, I think, 2 or 3 different models of this same radio. This, I believe, is one of the earlier ones. The schematic, I believe, dates back to 1950. There's our missing emblem right there, I believe. So the knob, the only thing I can do, really, I don't have a power cord for this. Now, the ad said that the power cord had been cut off, but it's not. If we look around the back side, you can see it right there. Whoops, right there. It's a interlock or plug-in type. So, and I don't have my cheater cord. I've lost them and over the time and stuff like that. But once I find those, we'll be able to power it up at least with that and get that done. Now this is attached to the, I believe there was supposed to be a back for this. There are these, what do you call it in here? These little push nails, I call them. And there's 2 missing at the bottom. Now that should have had 4 in there, and like I said, that's what holds the back on. There's an opening for this right here for your antenna. I don't know how well you can see that, but this wire insulation is cracked terribly on this. There's a lot of exposed wiring there. Of course, obviously that's just the antenna, but still, you know, if you see that, it's going to be that way. It's going to be on the radio the same way. Cabinet doesn't appear to be very bad. I mean, it's an old radio. It's bakelite, which is unusual in this day and age, I guess. But again, like I started to say, the dials, now the tuning dial seems to work fairly well. It's a little tight, but it seems to cover the entire range of the spectrum. This has the other control on the left of the dial is for AM and FM, I believe, because it's only a 2-position switch. There's no, Hell, I lied about that. It doesn't cover the full range. Apparently, it's out of whack. But again, we'll get it in whack. Now, this is the one I was talking about. This only goes, switches one way. There's one way. There's the other. And that's all it does. Now, this one, on the other hand, you can turn it on, and you can see that it rotates. That's your on-off volume control. So, there you go. That's, I know this is going to be a pretty brief look at it. But, you know, it is what it is, because not much else you can do with it with no power. So that's about it. Like I said, I looked at the cabinet. It does a couple places on the cabinet. I think there's a crack somewhere. I felt it give when I was getting it out of the box. So I'm yeah, right there. I thought so. Right there is cabinet. Yeah, that's easy enough to fix. That's not a big deal. Although it does appear to be coming across here, so it needs to be gotten at pretty quick. Like I said, I've not really worked with bakelite that much. Most of the ones I get are plastic, and because I'm cheap. Let's see if we can look at the bottom here. This does have a label on it. Don't know how in depth it goes, but it is a label, and that's where I got the model number off of it. Was, I believe, up in here, in this area here. See if I can get a good close-up of that. So there you go. I know it's sideways, but you know, you can turn it around. The reason there's some discrepancy on these, again, these schematics and the years and model numbers, things like that. This one has and you can see it on the tube layout over here. For the audio output, it has a 35B5. and that was only used in the earlier models because they changed the B to a C in later models. And it's essentially the same tube, but I believe there's a couple of things that has to be changed if you want to try to interchange them. But again, the later models, the ones I've seen for the 54, 55, have a 35C5 in there. That's one clue. The other clue was the knobs on it. There, I think you can see those. On the end says FM 100, AM. The middle one says tuning, and the last one says volume, and that's all it says. But it is on and off as well. So there you go. There's the knob. Now the knobs themselves, as you can see, are just plain brown with a round edge on the front. Now the later 54, 55 that I've seen, and I'm just judging by what I saw in Radio Museum, they same brown color, but the center sections are gold. I'm sure they're probably inserts, but they're gold colored. So maybe a little bit of difference in the fonts and things like that, but there is a difference. And this is the earlier version. I do know that. So anywho, that's where we're at with this one. I might try to take this apart and we'll take a real quick look at the inside, just because we can't do anything else. Let me do that real quick and I'll come right back. Alright, we are back again. As you can see, I think clearly, we have a major problem here. Couple of rather large holes in the speaker. That's not good. I'm not really sure if that's dirt on there or just put the paper pulling away from the cabinet or what, but that appears to be it doesn't. You can't see it with the cabinet on there, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. But definitely the speaker. Let's look on the end here. I saw something I didn't care for down here. Now this is obviously loose. I think one of our problems is going to be this. I think that's why our dial is not going all the way, moving all the way like it's supposed to. This is a inductive tuning circuit for the FM. Zenith, I think, was pretty famous for doing that. They instead of using just a standard tuning gang like everybody else, they used inductive tuning for the, you can see the inductors there, I think, barely. But this one has either come loose or something has, some kind of problem we're having with it. But again, I think that is why that doesn't want to move. In fact, I can feel it hitting the this over here. That may be a challenge. Obviously, there's our loop antenna, which will have to be gotten out of the way. Let's take and turn it over and look at the bottom. See what we're dealing with down here. Ooh, well, that's interesting as well. See, our cement resistor here has lost its coating. I don't know if that makes it bad, but it doesn't make it good for cooling. I know that heats, that cement coating is supposed to help cool, I believe. And it's not really cement, I don't believe, but it looks like it. All the rest of the capacitors look original. Well, even that one looks original, I guess. Although it has been soldered right there, I can see. That may be a replacement. But again, the rest of the capacitors themselves look pretty original. So I really would like to try this out. There's our, better look at our, that looks to be polarized. It's hard to say for sure, but that one looks bigger. This one looks bigger than this one. So if so, that would have been an early example of polarization on the cords. So somebody was using their noggin, I guess, early on. This may be a, well, let's see, let's look at it again closer. I'm looking at this speaker. I'm wondering if maybe that's a replacement, because you can see here on this piece of masonite or whatever that is. That almost looks like it's been ripped off. So that doesn't look very exactly right on that. So that may be, I don't know. Let's see. You can see the other side. Yeah, it maybe it's supposed to be that way, but you would thought it would have came all the way over. But again, you never know. Yeah, that's up against the wall right there. You can look over here and see. This is what we're dealing with here. So that's got to be back on, and I got to figure that out and find out how to work that. This does have a selenium rectifier, which I just saw. I like to replace these whenever possible. They're just trouble looking to happen. So best to get them out of the circuit if possible. And I don't see why it's not possible. We have plenty of diodes. Let me see about getting this. Let's see, we got our antenna wire here going to the for the FM. Okay. I see there's a wire here that's going to have to be cut or something because it is secured to this. Probably should be two. Yeah, I see there's the other one. I see it. Okay. Got those two to get off. I'd like to mark those before I don't know if there's any difference when you take them apart, but again, I like to put them back as I can where they go. So I generally just take a marker and mark one on black, and then mark the place where it connects to black as well, and that usually takes care of that problem. So this case I have actually 4 wires if you count the FM wire. So not going to do any of that today. I'm just thinking ahead in my head. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that is not standard. I can't picture Zenith doing that. Only other thing I can say is maybe a mouse got in there and started eating some of it. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not a big deal. There's a permanent magnet speaker, it looks like. So, and I'm pretty sure of that. So I'm sure I can either find a speaker to replace that with, or call on Mr. Don over at Restore Radios, who's very good at doing that. So as long as the output transformer that's mounted onto it is good, I think we're okay with that. I think. A little, starting to say a little rust, but I don't think that's rust. I think that's, it might be a little rust. Yeah, I guess it is a little rust. A little rust there and a little rust over by the tuning capacitor. Not a big deal. Looks like all the tubes are there. It's fully populated. So again, this is a good example, or a good radio, I think, or good. I'd like to hook it up just see if it works at all. These old radios will surprise you sometimes. I mean, it's just funny how they work. But this one obviously has some tuning range. I wonder what happens when you put that down. See, now I'm going down, and then the only thing that's happening is the tuning capacitor is moving. The slugs on the the inductive tuning is not moving at all, as you can see. So, but this is just, this is pretty bad. I mean, you can see, look in there how bent those are. Those are supposed to go in those little, not inductors, the, can't think of the name of it. But anyway, the slugs, they're supposed to go into the coils there to where they can tune. So, anywho, that's going to have to be taken apart, all cleaned, and figured out. Obviously, it's got a spring on this side. Now, maybe that's the only spring, I don't know. But if you look at the spring, even that, you can see the loop is way up at the top. It doesn't even, there's where it would be at if it was hitting the thing. But there's like that may be the limit. I think that's the limit, because the spring is going up and down. So maybe that's just the limit where it's supposed to go. So, if this goes over anymore. That's really getting tight right there, and it stops complete right there. So whatever it is that causes that to move is not moving like it should. So, okay, I know I'm getting way into this too much, and I probably shouldn't be, because I don't know when I'll get around to this, but this is going to be an interesting one. I like working on interesting stuff. Keeps my interest up. So that's going to be a good one when we get to it, and like I said, I'll have to find a cord for it. Those interlocks are getting kind of hard to find, and if you find them on eBay or something like that, they're expensive as all get out. Sometimes you can get the newer style to work, but not in this case, especially with the one being larger, being polarized like that. So, anywho, that's that. All right, we are back here on the Zenith radio again, the AM/FM 7F04 chassis. I forget the model number. I always forget that part of it. I think it ends in 921, maybe LH. I don't know, something like that. So what you're looking at is the combination AM/FM tuner section, and I thought the problem was this side over here was down too far, but what it is, this one's up. You can see there's the hole. There is the hole that little rivet fits into right there. Now I've got this lowered down. Let's get this fuzz off here. We don't need fuzz. But I've got this lowered down as low as this cam goes, so it gives no pressure at all on this, and I also have the spring off. You can probably see it all on the left over here. So there's no real pressure on that. I can raise and lower it as it will, and it will stay there. What I'm going to try to do is basically get that back into its position that it goes into. See if I can get you up here and get you a better shot of that. I'm in here with this battery charger going. I just kind of wanted to keep an eye on that while I was messing around. And like I said, this even has a point on it. I think you can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit maybe. Yeah, you can see the point on that, where that fits in. And that fits in that hole. It's just a matter of getting it in there. That seems to have the other side. Let's show you that. Has that captive type thing where it can't come out of that hole. You can see there's an extra brace on that. This doesn't have that. This is the side that I guess is meant to freewheel, for lack of a better term. So I want to make sure I don't do something that I'm going to regret. So I want to get this, see if there's any give. Yeah, you can see there's some give to that. That wall, or whatever you call that thing. So I'm going to give it a shot just to see if I can pry it over a little bit and do it that way, and then bend it back maybe. Alright, we are back once again. I do have the framework for the slug tuning back in shape. I don't know how you can see it, but there's some grease on that cam. It was a little tight on that. Now, I thought at first this would rotate, but it doesn't. It's just a brass rubbing against that, I guess, brass cam. So I put some lube on it, some super lube. So now that works really nice. And it has full range of travel, which is good. And everything is back in order. So, like I said, that's obviously I put the spring back on. Now, I was a little bit concerned about the other end. It looked like the little slug tuning things were bent, but on closer inspection, I believe it's supposed to be that way. Let me turn this around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, on this end you can see that looks like it kind of curves in here like this, and this one curves a little bit this way. But if you look, this is a piece of fiberboard of some kind, and it is specifically made to keep those and these are springy type things. They're not solid. The springy type things together a certain amount, and as such that's the way it's designed to work. You can watch it go up and down here. Actually, it's going down now, but the slugs themselves seem to fall right into place. I mean, they don't have any problem. And so that's all the way down. It looks to me like this one's more bent than this one, but again, these are springy. You can move them back and forth. So it's not like they're stiff or anything like that. They're going the way they want to go, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And I was showing that to Bob. He said, yeah, he agreed the same way. It's supposed to be that way. So I think it is. But like I say, it's full range of travel now. And as such, that part of it's fixed, if nothing else. So that's good. I'm basically just, this is obviously not all I'm going to do to this, but basically just trying to get it to where it's operational. To where if I get my cheater cord out and find that, and we could try this out, and that would be nice, I think. Alright, well, we are back again. I'm going to pull you out just a little bit more so you can see everything that's going on here. Off camera that you can't see over here is the signal generator. It is set to 1390. That is our local station here. The modulation is set to 30%. The signal strength is -7 dB. And I have the Variac set to, I think, 115 volts. I'm going to kick it on, and we're going to see what happens. Now, I just have this hooked up via clip leads. I couldn't find my cheater cord, so 115.3. I got 170 milliamps drawing. Ho ho ho! I think you can hear that. So obviously, tune off and on. So there you go. There's that. So the radio works, audio works, we'll put it that way. The tuner, it works. Obviously, it's getting through the whole radio. Again, that signal is being applied, as you can see right up here on the loop. It's just sort of clipped to the outside of it there. So that very, very quickly, you know, sets our tone for how the radio is going to be working here. So, like I said, it is working somewhat. Obviously, volume control needs cleaning really bad. I hum every time I touch it. That's normal. But like I said, it is working. Now FM, I have not been able to get a station on. Let's see, go this way. I don't really have an antenna other than what's on the radio. I think this is one end of the band. I'm up top, so I'm going back down. That's me touching that volume control. Is what that noise is every once in a while. So nothing at all on FM. Again, no. That's all the way down. That's all the way. I started to say that's all the way down. That's no antenna. So you know that may be a factor. I think. But like I said, on-off works. A little stiff. I have to get my little pair of pliers there. But obviously, it does work. Hum doesn't seem too bad, like I said, unless I touch it. And I don't really see that being a problem. No, I didn't get, like I said, I couldn't get any actual station to come in, but I did get the frequency generator to come in on AM. I don't know if I can find it again. I know it's up towards the top. I do know that. There it is. Alright, so that's working. It is functioning somewhat. That's about as low as I can get that. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, that volume control needs cleaning really bad. But on the FM, there's several possibilities. There's an RF tube in this. It could be not functioning. I think it's a 12BE6, I think. And obviously other things that could be wrong as well, but I haven't tried to feed in a FM signal. I can with that generator, but I just haven't tried it yet. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to bring you back and show you that the radio functions, for lack of a better term. So that's a look at the radio again. Obviously, this is not the end of it. We got a long way to go on this one. But I just been kind of playing around with while I was doing these batteries. I couldn't do much else, but because this was sitting here, and I thought, well, you know, I might as well plug it in and see what it's doing. And you can see now what it does. So, doesn't appear to be drifting or anything. So anyway, like I said, that's it. I'll bring you back for the next time I work on it, and we'll see what happens then. Not a big deal. You guys, in the meantime, have a great day. Thank you so very much for watching, and we will see ya.